Today, I want to talk a little bit more about dry cleaning and solvents used to clean clothes. And the reason I'm talking about this is okay, number one, I've been doing this research for about 6 months now, just really understanding the material, the ingredients and chemicals that goes into dry cleaning. And second, the reason I'm talking about this as well is because as much as I'm sharing what I have and doing wardrobe archive, the next thing beyond collecting beautiful things is taking care of them. And I talked about it in maintenance being the new art of cool. Maintaining your thing is very, very important. There is patina in leather, there's character in linen and cotton and in silk. As you wear them, they will transform in a structural feel to it, or vibes as they call it. And to get to that point, it's very important to maintain the items, the garments, the chairs, the scarves, the items, the shoes that one owns. And that brings me to my research of how do I take care of my things? Because I have not, unfortunately, been someone that really takes care of my things. I think that everything is, you can always use money to buy these. I don't have to take care of my things. But as I start collecting more designer, vintage designer, archive fashion items, it's not like, yeah, you can have all the money in the world, but sometimes you just can't find the item anymore. It was produced in the 80s and you can't find it anymore. Maybe one random person in Geneva has this Dior jacket that you're looking for, and she's not going to sell. So taking care of items becomes a very, very important thing for me. And I what I've been doing is in two folds. One is dry cleaning and dry cleaning research, which is what I want to focus on. The second thing is caring for garments at home. I make a separate video for caring for garments at home because I'm doing a lot of experimentations on my own clothes just to understand how that works. And then I'm sharing this with my family, with my mom, with my aunties, just so that they can take care of their garments as well. Uh, yes, but that's a separate video because that will take another amount of time. Dry cleaning is something I've been doing a lot more research on. And I do interview the dry cleaners. I call them, I ask them a lot of questions, and usually I find it weird when they get not offended, but they don't know how to answer, or they're like, why are you asking so many questions? My items are very delicate. My items are, I need to go to the dry cleaner because normal water does not work. And so I want to share the research that I've been doing when it comes to dry cleaners and just share a lot more information about it. The reason why I have a dry cleaner category and a wash at home category is because dry cleaning in general is very bad for your garment and it can be very bad for your skin. And we go into more details later, but the summary of this video is that ideally you don't want to use PERC, you don't want to use hydrocarbons, you want to use a solvent that's silicone based. And it's a long name. Let's not I'll explain it later, but it's called a D5 silicone. But basically, when you call up your dry cleaners, ask them if they're using silicone-based solvents. If yes, use it. If not, don't use it. Why? Because the PERC, which is the one that's most widely used, it is carcinogenistic. So it can be cancer causing. So number one, these things are a lot more potent and strong to clean your garments, right? The whole point of going to a dry cleaner is also to clean your garments, to get rid of stains, to get rid of smell, maybe, to clean your garments. And the dry cleaner, they use solvents to get rid of the stains, the smell, whatever. And to do that, they need to use specific kind of chemicals, or they also use non-water based solvents, which is hence the word dry clean. I'll go into that later. And because of that, these chemicals can be carcinogenistic, so they can cause cancer when it can cause cancer, full stop. And when you're using these solvents to wash your garments, and these garments touch your skin after, of course it's going to touch your skin, and it can be cancer causing. So do not do that for health and safety reasons. The second thing, which I recently found out, is this thing called TCE, trichloroethylene. Yes, TCE is commonly paired with PRC, which is the carcinogenistic one, and TCE. TCE is Parkinson's disease causing. It causes Parkinson's disease. So of course, don't use that. And that is why I'm not the biggest fan of dry cleaning, because as much as yes, it does get stains out, it is going to be harmful for your garment and it can be harmful for your skin. So if you really have to do dry cleaning, don't do it all the time. And the second one is use a silicone-based solvent. Okay, that's it. You can stop. The video is summarized, but and whoever wants to keep watching, I'm going to go into more details. What is dry cleaning? Let's start with that. So the difference between at-home cleaning and dry cleaning is that at-home cleaning, you use water. Use water as the way to wash your clothes. That's what I'm doing in the washing machine right now, and there's water in the washing machine. Dry cleaning, on the other hand, the word dry is from the context of water. It doesn't use water. But of course, you still need something to clean the garment. So it uses other kind of solvents. And these solvents are in 3 categories. And it uses that to clean the other things. And they use other chemicals to do spot cleaning and whatever. But that's the whole concept of dry cleaning. Still has the same washing machine. It's still water going in. It's solvents. Now, when it comes to solvents, there are 3 categories of solvents. The first one is PERC, PERC. I'm going to attempt to pronounce it. It's perchlorine ethylene. That's one of the chemicals used. The other one is tetrachlorine ethylene. So these are chlorinated hydrocarbon solvents to that you use to wash your clothes. So I'm going to go high level first and we go into details, right? So one is chlorinated hydrocarbon solvents. The second category is hydrocarbon solvents, and the third category is silicone-based solvents. So these are the 3 categories. The summary is that silicone-based solvents best, hydrocarbon solvents middle, and PERC chlorinated hydrocarbons worst. Avoid, absolutely avoid, do not use them. From my research, talking to a lot of dry cleaners, calling them up and speaking to them and just asking about solvents that they use, and sometimes they don't want to share that, which to me it's a big red flag. So PERC is the most commonly used solvents in dry cleaning. Why? Because it's cheaper and it's stronger, which means you don't have to use a lot of it to do the cleaning of your garments. But it's not always better. It's stronger, and so it can get off stains better compared to the worst of the strength is silicone-based solvents, which is the to me it's the best one and it's the one that I use for all my dry cleaning. That is less efficient, but it's more gentle on the garment, and it's also not it's not carcinogenistic, which it doesn't cause cancer. But going back to PERC, this is a chlorinated hydrocarbon solvent, and so it is more in the chlorinated category. And you can even think about chlorine, right? Chlorine usually you have to disinfect. The swimming pool has chlorine to disinfect. You have chlorine bleach to disinfect and clean whatever kind of stuff, but it's very harmful to your garments. This has been an industry standard for the last 70 years, and it's really effective for oil, grease, heavy soiling, which is why a lot of people go to the dry cleaners because they have very soiled garments. Yes, there's a category of very fancy, beautiful dresses that it's just too delicate to wash, but there's also another category where it's just really, really soiled, very greasy, very oily. So PERC, chlorinated hydrocarbon solvent, is very good at removing these dirt and grease. However, big however, it's carcinogenistic and it's classified as group 2A, which is probably carcinogenic to humans. So it's linked to bladder, kidney, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, esophageal cancers with chronic occupational exposure. EPA considers this likely human carcinogen. No, carcinogen. Oh my God, I'm not pronouncing things well today. And not only is it because you use the garments to clean the items, right? But as the waste that comes out, just like when you wash in a washing machine, there is water that comes off the washing machine that is discarded. The waste that comes out of the dry cleaner's machine, they will still contain these carcinogenic items, chemical solvents. And which means if you live in New York and you've got buildings above the dry cleaner, the waste, the air, all of these, they're just spreading around. And you can be exposed to these harmful solvents. It's ridiculous to me. Yeah, I do not live in New York and I don't think I'll ever want to live in New York. But where I do my dry cleaning, they actually have a separate factory, and it's far away from where the residential places are, which is better. And I don't use PERC anyway, so it's fine. It is also being, just in general, it's being phased out in EU, California, and some parts of Asia. I don't know where in Asia. That part I did not research, but definitely still relevant in Singapore where I am right now. So PRC is the most common solvent in all of the dry cleaners. It's also important to understand that this was the industry standard, which means that the machines that they use are for PRC, chlorinated hydrocarbons. If they want to move over to hydrocarbons or silicone-based solvents, they have to buy brand new machines. And these machines are not your washing machine where it's a couple of $100s. These machines are very, very expensive. So I understand why once it is the industry standard for a couple of decades, asking dry cleaners to shift it is quite a big challenge. So best to go to newer ones where they are updated with the new technology, interview them, ask them about what kind of solvents they use. And the second thing is to go for more reputable companies where they care about taking care of your garments as well. And I'll share that later. So that's PRC, which is the most commonly used one. The second one is hydrocarbon solvent. It sits in the middle. It sits in the middle because it's lighter and gentler than PRC, but it's bit more potent than silicone-based ones. It's also petroleum-based hydrocarbon, that's petroleum. So it's petroleum-based, and it's safer for delicate fabric. So the reason I started to look out for solvents, which got me into this deep research, which caused me to make this video and share my knowledge, is because a lot of my garments are these vintage designer pieces, and they are very fragile. A lot of them are silk, and silk or wool that is just, they've gone through wear, and so it's not very fragile, but I would like to take better care of them. And I wanted to understand what kind of solvents. I never even knew this was a thing. I stumbled upon something randomly. And turns out there are different kind of solvents for your garments. And as I was doing more research, speaking and interviewing these different dry cleaners, I learned more about the various kind of solvents. So because my items are more delicate and they are like 30, 40, 50 years old, I will also want a solvent that's more delicate on my garment. And from there, then I also started to research more and realize, oh my goodness, PRC, PERC, is very, very bad for your garment and also for your skin, for humans. So hydrocarbon solvent is the other alternative that you can search for. I think this might be a bit more popular than silicone-based, and I'll explain later. So it's less effective on heavy stains, but it's just more gentle on delicate fabrics. For carcinogenicity, it's a lower risk profile. It's mild irritant. It's not classified in the same like carcinogen. Oh my god, it's not classified as the same carcinogen as PERC. Again, it's not great for long-term occupational exposure, but it's still safer than PERC. And when a lot of people who are doing like eco dry cleaning or more modern ones, they use that. So I was looking, so when I first started out, I never knew about the third one, which is silicone based. I know that when we talk about dry cleaning, they're all kind of petroleum based, hydrocarbon based. Hence you have chlorine hydrocarbon, which is PRC, and then you just have hydrocarbon. So I was calling up all these dry cleaners, asking them about, do you use PRC or do you use hydrocarbon? And then nobody uses hydrocarbon, strangely, but there are people using silicone based, which is the third one, which is the one I use. But you know who uses it? Jeeves in New York. So Jeeves is probably the most well-known global dry cleaner, worldwide, right? And they are from Bulgaria in London, and I believe they do dry cleaning for the royal family because they do have like the step. And I don't know, but I believe so. I could not find any data to support this, but I believe, based on my interviews and research, I think they do franchise their brand name out to different parts of the world because they only operate in London, but in England. But you can find Jeeves all around the world, like in all the major cities. And I have one in Singapore, and I use that in Singapore. However, the one in Singapore uses silicone-based solvents, but the one in New York uses hydrocarbon solvents. I thought that was interesting, and that made me think that they are probably not the same branch. It's a franchise model because it's not a standard solvent that they use. So anyway, hydrocarbon is not, it's okay, it's safer. I mean, if you have to choose between hydrocarbon and silicone-based, go for silicone-based. But if you have to choose between PRC and hydrocarbon, go for hydrocarbon. Then it brings me to the last one, is silicone-based. And it's, this is a very long word. I'm going to try to pronounce it. So in short, it's a D5 silosane. Okay, it's a liquid silicone compound. And it's actually decam ethyl cyclopentacillonates. Yeah. Anyway, that's the just it's called D5. Okay, it's a silicone-based hydrocarbon. From what I understand, from based on the two dry cleaners that are used, and they're both using silicone-based one, they position themselves as a green thing, environmental, biodegradable, and that kind of stuff. And because it is silicone-based, it biodegrades into silicon, water, and CO2 in theory. Sand, water, and CO2 in theory. So, yeah, I thought there's a green initiative they're talking about because it's biodegradable, which means it doesn't leach into the water and it destroys the communities around, which is what PRC does. It's also gentle, it's odorless. So it also really isn't cancer causing. Hasn't been classified, at least in the human category. Generally very, very safe to use. There are some studies apparently that flag tumor development at very, very, very high doses. So small animals, absolute high doses, it can cause something. But you know, at that point, if you're a super small animal, you have a high dose of whatever chemical, you can cause some weird stuff. I think humans, we're huge enough that it's fine. So this is the safest of them all. It's the safest, it's the most gentle, it's biodegradable, it's good for your skin, it's good for the environment. Silicone-based solvents are the best. Downsides. Downsides. Two things I've noticed. The first one is it's genuinely less effective at removing stubborn stains. It's just a lot weaker because it's gentle on it's gentle, right? Because it's gentle, it's just generally less good at removing stains. I have some stains on some clothes, and you know, after you clean it like 2 times or 3 times, it still doesn't get removed. So that is a big downside. But you know, if you're a clean person, take care of your clothes. Don't get it super soiled. Don't wear fine materials like silk and cashmere to do yard work. So that's one downside. It doesn't it's just so gentle that it doesn't really remove stains, which is again going back to the point, why do people go to dry cleaning? To remove certain kind of stains that all these home products can't do. And the second thing, which I have absolutely noticed, it's really expensive. It's a lot more from a dry cleaner perspective, it's more expensive per cycle, and from a consumer perspective, it's really more expensive per piece of garment. It really, really is more expensive. Yeah, it's maybe how much. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I think each country is a bit different, but yes, if you go to PRC, it's so much cheaper to do a dry clean of your dress, of your jacket, of your suit, compared to silicone base. But you know, the way I'm seeing it is, let's say you do dry cleaning of your like garments. You just do it once in a while, and then make sure that you don't spill anything. Just don't spill anything. Don't get it dirty. Don't get it soiled. And after you wear it, air it out, clean it. Take a nice damp cloth or just clean it, air it out. Don't wear it for a long amount of time, and then keep it back in your closet. And you just do dry cleaning maybe once a season when you're changing seasons. So I think that is fine if I look at it that way. I will not be doing dry cleaning every time I wear my nice, like my garments that I need to dry clean, because it's not necessary. And also dry cleaning many times will definitely harm your garments. In fact, washing your clothes too many times is not good for your clothes. Okay, so oh, you know what the fourth one is? I have just found it in my notes now. There is carbon dioxide liquid cleaning. So it's pressurized CO2 as a solvent. It's also very green, but, and this is why I have not found out about it, it's very expensive and very, very, very rare. I have not spoken to any dry cleaner nor done any research online, as I'm doing a lot of research online. I've never found anyone that is doing CO2 liquid cleaning, like CO2 solvent, pressurized CO2 as a solvent. The only ones that I've seen, which is the cleaners, which are the two ones that I use, is silicone-based solvents. All right, now let's go to the next point, which is a thing I was very curious about, and I learned my mistake, very, very uncomfortable mistakes in January and February this year, because I have done a lot of research in Q4 last year. In Q1 this year, I bought some items to kind of try and experiment with also some intention to try and experiment with these home-based solvents and home-based chemicals, and learn a mistake, and that's why I have been taking my items to the dry cleaner a bit more. All right. Now, why can't you wash them with water? Yes, people go to the dry cleaners to get stain out, but from my perspective, I go to the dry cleaner because there are some things I simply cannot wash with water. And I've learned this the hard way in a few contexts. Which are the problems I'm going to list here? Okay, so in general, to me, right, water is like the most neutral thing. But, and so yes, if anything is fragile and delicate, wash with water, hand wash them. But the mistake is that, yes, as a solvent, it's fine, it's neutral, it's, you know, pH 7, neutral water is neutral. However, it can disrupt physically and structurally the garments. So some mistakes that I've 100% made, and they are quite expensive mistakes. Number one, shrinkage. And this is the most common problems when it comes to washing with water. So natural fiber, like wool, cashmere, silk, which are a lot of things that I have, they have scales that lock together, and when they get agitated, which is why when you wash them water, washing machine or hand wash, right? The fibers get agitated, and agitated, and when it's wet, it changes the structure quite a bit, and it can have a bit of shrinkage. So one thing I have noticed is that one of my Dior skirts, the outside is 100% wool, and the inside lining is either acetate or copro. The problem is that these are two separate materials, and they dry at different rates. And they're all water, right? So it gets evaporated, and they dry at different rates. So sometimes when it dries too fast or dries too slow, it can extend a bit longer. And I always lay them absolutely flat. But it can shrink a little bit or gets a bit extended, which is the change in structure. So my Dior skirt, the inside lining, the copro or acetate one, it's a man-made lining, the inside. But it has shrunk a little bit. The wool is completely fine because I really know how to take care of wool, but the inside lining is just a little shrinked, and it's quite, it's fine. I don't feel it, I don't see it. Just that when I look deep into that, which I'll feature my dress next, the suit next time, I can see a bit of a difference. So what I've done now is that when I buy garments, ideally, I want to get both of natural material. Ideally, they're both the same material, or they're both natural material. So hopefully they dry at the same rate. So for example, I do have, for example, if I have a silk skirt, I want the lining to be silk as well. Or I get a silk skirt with no lining, and I do have what is it called? Like my mom calls it petticoat. I don't know if that's the right term. But the dress, a slip dress, yes, a slip dress, a slip skirt. So my slip skirt is silk, and then I can have whatever unlined bottom dress or skirt after, and then I can clean them separately, and they can dry at the same rate. So the shrinkage in general happens, and especially if you don't take care of your garments properly, you will see shrinkage. for me, it's the lining and the main garment. It can dry it can dry at a different rate, and that is quite, it will cause shrinkage or change in structure. So I've seen that as a problem that I have experienced. The second one is dye bleeding. Okay, so you know how sometimes you buy a lot of silk print, and like I have an Hermès blouse and a vintage silk scarf. They are, I mean, oh, the Hermès scarf. I don't know. The Hermès silk blouse is made in the 80s, and then the vintage silk scarf, I think, is the 80s or 90s. So because these are all made in the past and they have a different technique for dyeing silk, when you wash them in water, the silk can bleed. So I never knew about this before. You know how sometimes my mom always says when you buy something new, just put it in water first, just to see if the silk the color transfers or not. And actually, I don't know if that's the best way now, because not everything is good to touch water. But you can test it on a small corner and see if the color comes out. So I noticed that my silk scarf, the color comes out, and initially I thought, oh, okay, the liquid now is a little bit red, and I didn't care about it. But when I took the scarf out and take a look, there's some bleeding that I could see, like the red spreading to the parts that's not red. So that's a problem that I've noticed, and that means yeah, because they are hand applied or they are just very old, they are not water, they're not good to wash with water. Which brings me to my Hermes one. Okay, I'm gonna say that the Hermes, I think I'm quite sure the new pieces are all fine, because I've washed all my other things there, they're all fine. But this one's from the 80s, and it's this beautiful blouse with feather prints. I tried doing one of these homemade DIY thing to get rid of a little bit of a stain. And well, turns out the color bleeds, and I've got some weird patches. I don't think it's very noticeable. I can see it because I have made the mistakes, so I can see my mistakes very clearly in front of me. And because it's feather prints, and the feathers are all different kind of funky colors, but I kind of crumple them and put them in the water with some whatever thing to soak. Yeah, turns out you should not do that, and also the color comes out. So one of the feather leaves there, it's red, and it has a slight red print on the other side. So yes, dude, older silk items or older dye is just not good for water, but it's okay for other kind of materials. For other, no, it's it's okay for other solvents, not water, but other solvents. That's why dry cleaning. So I send it to dry cleaning instead. Shape distortion. So shrinkage is one. Shape distortion is the third, another one. So we have shrinkage, dye bleeding, and then shape distortion. Shape distortion is where the shape goes a little bit, funky. The structure of the garment can wrap itself or dissolve or whatever. So again, I have had expensive mistakes this way. I have a Dior blazer, a really nice, a bit oversized Dior blazer, and I really wanted one oversized blazer that's a bit longer and I can wear it during spring autumn time. And I got it, and I wanted to wash it because the collar and the cuffs could use a little bit of cleaning. So I washed it, and I washed with water, but it dries at it's weird because the inner lining, I believe, is silk, the outer lining is wool, and I guess it dries at a different rate, so the shape got a little bit distorted. And yes, I've sent it to a dry cleaning since. I think it's much better. They fixed it a bit better. It's not completely fixed, but it's okay. I also have another one, which is a little bit distortion in shape, is my Philip Lim 3.1 dress. So it's a wool linen blend on the outside, and the inside lining is silk. And with that, you imagine, that's completely fine, right? Actually, this has shrinkage, dye bleeding, and shape distortion issues. So I washed it with water. The water became a bit blue, like oh my god. But it's okay. The entire garment is blue, gray blue, so it's fine. You can't see it, but it came out a bit blue, and I was a bit worried. So there's dye bleeding, but thankfully it didn't go into weird parts, so it's okay. Then the inner lining is silk, the outer lining is wool and linen, right? The inner lining, the silk, I think it shrunk a little bit because the edges, it's not completely straight, perfectly straight. I mean, nobody can see it, because even if you turn it out, you can't see it, but I can see it because I care about all these small little details. Nobody can see it, nobody can notice the difference, but only I can. And I can see, you know, instead of completely flat, there's a bit of a small dip in shape. Also the shape distortion. Again, it all comes from the inner lining. It is, I think, a little, you know how garment is flat, right? Like it's flat, and that has a little bit of a extra fabric ish. So which means I think it got a little bit stretched in the drying process, perhaps. So the shape is a little bit distorted. But thankfully it looks completely fine. I mean, it's just a little bit. I can see it. It's just a little bit, but it looks completely fine. In fact, I think I look very good in that dress, and I do want to wear that dress a bit more. So yes, there's some shape distortion in place. And then there are other things about why you shouldn't wash with water. So for example, I have a bunch of sequin. I have a sequin dress and a feather a dress, like with ostrich feather. All these embellishments, yeah, do not wash with water. In fact, I think they're not for washing at all. It's all spot cleaning and just take a cloth to dry. I don't even think the dry cleaner can do that. So one dress is this beautiful cocktail dress, and it's all sequin and beaded from it's a halter all the way to the bottom of the dress. Everything is hand sewn in. In fact, when you buy the dress, they give you a little pouch for extra beading and sequins just in case it falls out. So it's very, very, very fragile. I don't think the dry cleaner, I don't think it's meant for washing at all. But you only wear that to do cocktails and then you go home anyway. So it's not like it gets damaged. I won't do yard work like that. The second thing is my other dress. It's very pretty, but at the bottom it's all feathers. I don't think I can ever get that clean, you know, because it's feathers. How on earth do you clean feathers? I have no idea. Yeah. Okay. So that that is water. Also, water is polar, which means it binds well to polar substance like salt, some proteins, but it doesn't dissolve non-polar things like body oil, like grease, like waxes. So a lot of the times where you have like dirt on, you know how sometimes when you wear t-shirts and you wear t-shirts for so long, there's a bit of like a yellow stain around your collar. And that's because of the dirt, the perspiration, the sunblock, maybe makeup that starts there. And this is not polar substance. This is a bit more oil based. And so these are non-polar substances. And water itself can't wash that. Maybe you could use some kind of detergent or some chemicals that I will share in the home-based solutions. But these things, it's better to go to the dry cleaner to get it out, which is what I was doing with my Hermès blouse. I wanted to take a little bit of the collar part out, try to do my own homemade style, ruined it a little, and yeah, the dry cleaner could not fix it properly, but it's way better, like way better. The other thing I also want to add on, because this is part of dry cleaning, but it's something I've learned recently. It's part of dry chlorine, but it's also used in a lot of other things. Is TEC. So PERC is per perchlorine. PRC is perchlorine ethylene. TEC is trichlorine ethylene. So it's pretty much similar in structure. The perchlorine ethylene has 4 chlorine atoms, and then the trichlorine ethylene, 3 chlorine atoms. So they're all, TEC is also a chlorinated solvent, and it's quite close to PRC. It's just difference in the number of chlorine atoms. So, but they're all, by default chlorine-based molecules. They are so TEC has been it was used in dry cleaning ages ago, before PERC came about 70 years ago. When people do dry cleaning, they use TCE, trichlorine ethylene. But they realize this is really bad, really bad. It's carcinogenistic, or it's a carcinogen, and also it causes Parkinson's disease. Again, these things are on the washing machine. It's in the waste, so don't live near a dry cleaner using these solvents. And when you put it on your clothes, the clothes touch your skin, and it's really bad. So do not do, like, this TCE was used in dry cleaning before. It's used less now. Right now, it's primarily used in like spot treatment or supplementary solvent alongside with PERC. And the problem is that these things don't go away. They're not biodegradable like the silicone-based one. They get seeped into the soil, into the air, into the water. And this thing like fats, right? This what is the word? Non-polar substance. So polar substance is a bit like salt, protein. Non-polar substance is a bit like oil and grease. And this thing like fats. So if you live above a dry cleaner that uses TCE and it's in the air, and then you open your fridge, there's oil, there's butter, there's mayonnaise, there's margarine, it gets stuck to these fatty products or fatty substance, and then you eat it, you consume it. Oh my goodness. It's just a nightmare in writing. So do not when you go to dry cleaner, ask them if they use PRC. Don't do that. PRC is usually used with TCE anyway. So, and also ask them if they use TCE. If they don't use that, you can go ahead with their dry cleaner. Also, future generation or future me watching this, please take care of my own clothes. Please, if the dry cleaner, the 2 dry cleaners that you use are going down by any chance, which I doubt so, please make sure you find the right dry cleaner. So yes, it's horrible. The TCE is associated specifically with Parkinson's disease as well. So it's not just cancer causing, but it also results in Parkinson's disease. Yeah, the having the Parkinson's disease. So it's very dangerous. I think it's very dangerous. So some things to note. So in EU, TCE is restricted under the REACH regulation since 2016 for most users. The thing, and then okay, for Singapore, the NEA regulates the amount of VOC emissions, but there isn't an explicit ban of TCE for dry cleaning. So I don't think Singapore's the best place to do dry cleaning actually. For developing markets, very unregulated. I guess, Singapore compared to other developing markets, Singapore is better, but Singapore compared to EU is better. The problem with TCE is that it's not only used in dry cleaning. As I mentioned, it's very good at removing grease, stains, oil. So it's used in a lot of cleaning things, just general cleaning. You go to industrial cleaning, you will see these chemicals being used. So when people say that they use chemicals for whatever kind of stuff, I always imagine it's like acid, you pour on something, it completely erodes. But a lot of chemicals are like this. They leach onto the oily metal, and then you wash it away. And then that's where the grease, stains, oily stuff, the non-polar substance gets washed away, gets clean. But it's very harmful. These chemicals are very harmful to the individual in the space. So yes, it's a degreaser, it's a pre-spotter in dry cleaning, but avoid using it. Really avoid touching it, using it, getting association or exposure to it. And yes, dry cleaning is a necessary evil in a lot of the garments we use, especially if you're storing like winter coats at the end of the season. You want to dry clean to remove the stains, the grease, the body oil, so that the moths and insects don't eat your fiber, eat your garment. But it's also very important to choose the right dry cleaner, the right solvent to clean your garments. It might be more expensive. I completely agree. They're actually way more expensive than the normal dry cleaning, but it's going to be more beneficial in the long run, right? Do you want to reach 90 years old healthy and alive, or do you want to spend less money on dry cleaning and then die at 60 years old with all these cancers and diseases surrounding you? Choices we have to make. All right, bye.